Welcome back to year 2 of the Edgework Playoff Series preview series. We're going to be breaking down each and every playoff round here, starting in round 1, going all the way through, giving out best bets, looking at series prices, giving our own predictions, all the way through the 2023-2024 Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm starting here today with probably the most important one, the Toronto Maple Leafs taking on the Boston Bruins. Now, as it's gone for the Leafs this season, it hasn't been too pretty. 0-2-2 against the Bruins this year. The last 2 losses coming 4-1 in both of those games. And that's pretty much how it's gone if you're going to look at the history of these two teams meeting up in the first round over the last decade. You look at Bruins 4-3 in 2013, Bruins 4-3 in 2018, and yes, Bruins 4-3 in 2019. So if the Leafs are going to change things up, they're going to need to shake off some demons. And Dom, if we're looking at series prices here, it's not in favor of the Leafs at all. We see Boston right now minus 124 to win this one. Leafs currently sitting at plus 108. What are your thoughts on just some of the history between these two teams, where we see this number currently sitting at, and how they match up?
Yeah, the history is obviously not on the Leafs side. They always come out behind against Boston. It's always in 7 games, and it's always the most agonizing, heartbreaking experience possible. But I think the interesting thing here is that the series does grade out as close as it does. I think there were some Leafs fans probably expecting Boston to be more heavily favored, but I think the big thing with the Bruins is there's a big difference between the team they were in the first half and the team they were in the second half. First half, they looked like they didn't really lose a step from last season. They looked like they were still ready to dominate, and they were fine without Bergeron. Second half, the only playoff team with a worse goal differential since the All-Star break was Washington. It's not ideal, and I think that brings the two teams closer together, where the Leafs, I think, have been a lot more impressive in the second half after a bit of a slow start. Obviously, 4-game losing streak going to the playoffs, not ideal, but other than that, I think this is going to be a really tight series, and the pricing feels right for what it is.
Dom, counterpoint, you're talking about 0-3-1 going into the playoffs here for the Leafs. Past couple of seasons, they've been above 500 going in, and it hasn't really worked out for them. So maybe just switch the voodoo up a little bit, go the complete opposite way, limp yourself into the playoffs, and maybe we see a different result here in the first round. So, Money, I know you've teased me a little bit this year about we are all Leafs, we believe, all that kind of stuff. Moretto has sat in the background just puking every time he's heard you say that. But if you look at the matchup between these two teams, where we're currently seeing the number, you see any advantage on either side or anything that you as a bettor might want to get involved in here?
Not at the current number. I think Dom touched made a lot of great points about the series pricing. It is a coin flip series. There are elements of the series where if either team is able to kind of instill their style of play, it does make them a favorite, right? But the way that these two teams match up right now, we are essentially flipping coins, and yes, you do need to make Boston a slight favorite, right? So, but what's interesting here is that any Leafs fan I've talked to, it's really strange, and I've noticed this about you, Zach, and I've noticed this about Rob Pizzola as well. You guys have completely written off this team, right? And like it's very unlike other years where I just feel that there's like no hope at all, right? So like that kind of makes me think that, what if this is the year, right? Like it's,
don't do this to me.
Like there's no weight of expectations anymore. Like Boston always beats Toronto. We're going into here like Samsonov sucks. The Leafs can't play defense, right? Like everything sucks. The whole world is ending, and from like an outsider looking at this team, they got some defensive problems, but I don't really view this team as like a team that has no shot here.
I think the difference here, so Money, is not that we actually view the team as a lesser team or a team that has less of a chance as before. It's just we had hope, like you said, year after year after year. And then, like Dom mentioned, where it just gets ripped away and you deal with heartbreak each and every season. It's like we went into this one and it was like, I'm not going to get hurt again. I'm not going to let myself do that. Like I'm the idiot for having hope. So this year just said, if it happens, it happens, but probably not. And then that way it's not as painful when it comes crashing down at the end. That's the
Live your
approach.
life with low expectations. You'll never be disappointed. I like that.
Right. Exactly. Alber, on the other hand, there, I don't know what the hell's going on. This guy is all bought in on the Leafs. This shows up. He's in the Leafs locker room right now. Are you a Leaf for a round at least? Take us through your thoughts on this matchup here, Alber, and how these two teams kind of go head to head.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny, like so many said, right? Like you've been writing the Leafs off since like December, pretty much since then. Like, oh, we don't want to buy here, we don't want anything. We'll just kind of go in it. Now we're very much Leafs fans for around here, and like it's kind of fitting, right? Like the Leafs get out of the first round last year finally, only to obviously lose to Florida, and now you come back the next year and you kind of got to go through another demon here in the Bruins that you guys just can't get by. So like from that aspect, it's kind of fitting. I agree. It is like rather coin flippish. I just don't know how you bet against Boston in this series, in this matchup, right? Like, I think we're gonna get into kind of how we see it playing out, but like, man, this Bruins team, like, they're built to kind of push the Leafs around a little bit, and like maybe this is the year that the Leafs can finally play through it. But I don't know. I think like as a neutral fan, this is probably the most intriguing first round series, certainly in the East at least, depending on what happens out West.
Yeah, as far as the pricing goes here, it seems like across the panel, everyone feels this one is pretty much fairly priced. You see the Leafs plus 108, Bruins minus 124. You go to series spreads, you see the Leafs plus 1.5, minus 200, Boston minus 1.5, plus 172. So as far as that goes, feels like everyone's kind of in the same ballpark of where those numbers are. Not seeing much value there, but so Money, we'll go to you first here. As for a best bet, I mean, last year when we did these series previews, we looked at these and we kind of attacked them in a little bit more of a creative way. It wasn't always just looking at who's going to win this one. Can I see value on one side or the other? And let's bet it that way. Some of them we took at taking some of those series spreads. Some of them we were going with exact scores in the series, 4-1 or 4-1, 4-2, that kind of thing. We also looked at different markets where it came to player to lead the series in goals or other aspects of the game that maybe aren't focused on as much, that we get these advantages and opportunities to take when it comes to the playoffs because these new markets pop up. Are there any for you here, so many in this series that you're looking at and thinking, I can hop in here, I can take advantage of that, and maybe some other people should kind of be snooping around some of those areas as well?
Yeah, so one thing that has stood out to me, and I mean, I concede I come in higher on the Leafs than a lot of people this year, right? So one thing that stands out is this series exact score, right? So I've got Leafs to win this series 4-2, so Leafs in 6 at plus 450. Now, the way I view this series too is that there's obviously a difference in style, right? If the Leafs are able to skate and if they're able to score, then they're the ones that are instilling their style of play. And Boston, if this becomes a wide open series, I don't think Boston can keep up. If this becomes a grinding series, I think the Leafs are in trouble, especially because of their lack of goaltending a lot of times, and they're just poor on defense as well. So if this goes into a game 7, that things are going to tighten up, and that becomes really tough to expect the Leafs to win a game 7 2-1 in Boston. So if the Leafs are winning this series, which I do like them to win, I don't like the price, but it means that they were able to skate on home ice and they were able to score goals at home. So that's why Leafs in 6. I come in higher on that.
And there you go, 4-2 Leafs exact series price plus 450 there, some money. What would you kind of say is your stopping point on that price? You can no longer bet it. If someone who else is watching this video after the fact maybe sees it, it's a slightly different number. They can't quite get 450. Is there another number or range that you're willing to play that within?
Maybe slightly lower, but I wouldn't go much lower than 450.
All right, there you go. There's our first best bet for the Leafs Bruins series. Now, Dom, over to you. You're looking at this one. So Money's taking the 4-2 here, kind of expecting if you're going to go for a Leafs direction, it's going to open up a little bit. Is there a way that you're going to attack this series from a betting perspective?
I think every year I've had a model, there's been an edge on the Leafs in the first round, and last year was the only time it's ever paid off. So this year I was pretty thankful that I was extremely neutral. I think I have Leafs plus 113, so it's right in that midpoint where I don't have to bet. I can just watch and be miserable and keep my money as well, or watch and be ecstatic, and that win can be enough. Having said that, I think one angle that might be worth playing is if you think it's going to be a close series that goes to 7, bet on whichever team loses game 1 and hope that they'll even it up after game 2 or they'll come back. To me, it feels like the Leafs probably drop game 1 and then win 4 straight and win in 5. That'll be a fun one, and you can get a much better price after that. But that's mostly just a vibe idea based on the idea that it's going to be a long series. Other than that, there's not a lot to play here for me.
So you would approach this one just, hey, whichever team is the one that loses first, you're going to bet their series price. After that, that team to win the series, or is that next game for you? Just clarify for people.
Yeah, that would be a series thing. And to be honest, if the Leafs win game 1, I'm not betting Boston, but someone else could. That could be a good opportunity for them. I wouldn't do it. Right. But I think the idea itself is pretty sound because this series is probably one that's going to go back and forth.
Right. All right, there you go. 2 best bets in this one, or 2 ways to approach the series that aren't just who's going to win outright from before the puck drop of game 1. Alber, to close off our best bets in this one, any final thoughts for you or any way that you're going to be betting on this one?
Yeah, to take a similar angle that so many did here, you kind of talked about like, what if this becomes a long series? And I think we would agree that it probably benefits Boston if it does. Plus 425 out there for Boston in 7, I think is where I would look to this one, right? Like, again, it kind of gets there. Like, you know, it's going to really tighten up. And I think the more it tightens up, especially the longer this goes, like the more it does benefit the Bruins. So yeah, I think that's where I'd certainly look. I definitely do agree with Dom's kind of point of like, especially if like the Bruins come out and win game 1, well, maybe you can get a better price on like plus 1.5 games or something on the Leafs and kind of like hope that this series does go back and forth, as I think a lot of us anticipate that it will. But yeah, I think Bruins plus 425 and 7 is where I'd look at this.
All right. There you go. 3 best bets for the series. We'll close this one off with the final thing. We're going to take betting aside. You know, this is a betting program. We're looking at these from a betting perspective with the numbers and everything, but every now and then you got to just put it on the line and give a prediction. Let us know where you're at with how this series is going to play out, maybe what you want to happen, what you think is going to happen. Dom, we'll start with you here. Leafs Bruins. Let's open it up, open ourselves up to get hurt here again. What are your thoughts on how the series is going to play out? What's your prediction?
I think the funniest outcome is the correct outcome, and that means a sweep in either direction. I'm going to go Leafs sweep because I think that's funnier than Bruins sweep. Everyone has written this team off. It's the big bad Bruins, and it would be fitting for the Boston era to officially end at the hands of the Leafs, winning 0 playoff games when they themselves haven't gone very far in the playoffs lately either. So that's what I'm going with. Leafs in 4. Screw it. Why not? It's hilarious. And if it comes true, I look like a genius. If it doesn't come true, people knew it was an out there prediction anyway. So who cares?
Yes, I like that.
You were just joking.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Money, go to you next. Your prediction for this series, first round, Leafs, Bruins.
I really hope that Alber doesn't come in on the Leafs because I don't want it to be a clean sweep on the Leafs here.
No, that's a perfect way to do it. Clean sweep after Dom opens it up for sweep Leafs.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Leafs in 6. I mentioned some of the reasons for that. I think that these teams are a lot closer than they have been in the past in this series. And if the Leafs are ever going to get by the Bruins in this era, it has to be this year. So, and in 6 games makes a ton of sense to me. So let's go Leafs in 6.
All right, and Albert, close off the predictions here. What do you got for us?
I really hope I'm wrong here. I can't get over the goaltending disparity here. I don't know how many times in the playoffs we have to see a bigger, more physical team kind of push around a more skilled team, which I think we would all agree that the Leafs are the more skilled team here. I really hope I'm wrong, and I do think it'll be a long series. I do think the Bruins end up winning in 7. The goaltending difference is too much for me. I would love to be wrong. Absolutely love to be wrong. Like you can see, I'm here in the Leafs locker room getting ready to shovel the ice there in Toronto. But yeah, I do think the Bruins end up winning this one.
No passion.
No passion. You don't have it. You don't have it, Alber. I do.
I got all the
Dom
jerseys
said.
lined up here.
Tom said one of the funniest ways for this one to go out would be a sweep in either direction, and Leafs sweep. There's another funny outcome, and it would be the Leafs in 7, and it would be the Leafs going to Boston and exercising their demons, and, you know, even worse, if we really want to tempt fate here, Dom, we go down in the third period and mount a
Down
comeback
4-1.
and win that
Down
one.
4-1,
Exactly.
Go down
4-1.
3-0 in the series and come back to win.
Yeah.
Would be
Come
an
back and win
all-timer
it.
after 3-1 last year.
And it's just the demons, they're gone. We're set free onto the second round. That's the other hilarious way to do it. So I'm going to go Leafs in 7. That's my prediction. But gentlemen, thank you very much for doing this here. I really appreciate you taking the time. This is the first series preview of this year's Edgework Playoff Series predictions, best bets, and breakdowns. Thank you to everyone who watched. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, and the most important thing, drop your predictions down below in the comments. If you got best bets yourself, let us know what else you have in there, but drop your predictions. We want to see what your thoughts are on how this series plays out. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys all for the next series preview coming up right here on the Edgework YouTube channel.